All right, welcome back for round two of our Dominaria United Mega Draft. We have Dan A, who's a first-time league player and a first-time top eighter, obviously, against Justin, who's in his, I believe it's now sixth top eight. Still after that first win, though. So I'm looking at it from Dan's point of view. He had one of the more interesting pools, I think, after the draft with his Naya deck here. And Justin had a blue-black deck we saw from his pool. And it looked interesting. I didn't see it at the time, but I think there was some connective tissue between some of the archetypes, between decayed tokens from Midnight Hunt, exploit from Vow, and then the casualty mechanic from Capenna. So I think he had a
Yeah.
bit of a blue black sacrifice deck actually, which is
So
uh,
Justin had to throw away a
yeah,
3 swamp hand, mulligan into a 3 island hand.
yeah,
I got a
unfortunate.
couple counter spells in hand now. Finally got a mountain, sorry, a swamp, so
Yeah,
unlocked a few cards in hand.
yeah. So what's he holding here?
It is essence capture, make disappear a deal gone bad, so and a
Okay,
debt to the Kami, so
okay.
removal
So
two counter
he's
spells.
gonna be able to interact here. So Dan's playing a green red base deck, splashing white. The red black land might just be for domain. Um, not sure if he's playing other black cards, but he's definitely splashing white. We know for a Johnny, Fleetfoot Dancer, and perhaps some other cards. So Dan has he pinned Justin on a removal here, which was correct. So he played the weakest of the 4 drops he had in hand. He had 4 4 drops in hand, so he played
I
the
see.
weakest one, which is a Broodweaver. So behind he has the Fleetfoot Dancer. That's the 4 4 with I believe it's haste,
See?
trample, and
Lifelink?
lifelink. Yeah. He has the Dawnheart Rejuvenator, which is his the worst of the ones left, and then he also has the Child of the Pack, which is that the werewolf that can make wolf tokens. So he's
Plenty
baited out the
interaction.
counter spells with the 2 weakest of those 4 drops. He also has a Blossom Prancer in hand for once he gets another green mana, he'll be able to get a big 4 4 that draws a card. So the Child of the
That
Pack here is going to
creature's
resolve.
yeah.
So you know, as you
This
do
is this
as
is
you do
pretty
against
neat.
blue players. Yeah, go ahead.
That's pretty neat. That card that he just used was not big enough to kill Child of the Pack, but knowing that Debt to the Kami is going to be his play next turn, that's an answer to the Child of the Pack. Anyways,
Yeah, so Justin's looking like a hard control deck here, but I don't I don't think that's exactly the case. But he just happened to have all of his interaction here, so he's going to get to find probably another Child of the Pack here. Yeah, Blossom Prancer,
Justin
totally
really
fair.
wants to find a creature because land and crawl from the cellar was all there was in hand. Another
Yeah,
land was drawn.
yeah. So like I was gonna say, as you do against blue players that leave up mana, you cast your worst of the spells that you have. To try and bait out
Yeah,
removal. So he's still holding this 4 4 haste, which is gonna really hurt Justin here when it comes in. If he's not dead here to these 2 creatures already. Yeah.
pretty insane how quick that was for how much interaction and removal Justin actually had. Still got beat down
Well,
from.
the game goes quickly when one of the players casts 0 creatures.
Yeah,
I
with no blockers. He
think
just
yeah. Uh, I I'm not an expert on anything, but I know that if you cast 0 creatures, your likeliness to win is low. So looking at Dan's deck, he does actually have a black card in there, which is morbid opportunist. That what we call a mythic uncommon from Midnight Vow. But his deck is kind of as expected. This was the one I did want to watch in the second round because he had uh, one of the more exciting pools, I think, just as far as strength and some interesting cards. His white splash is a little deeper than I thought, but he has tons of fixing. So he's splashing for a Sunset Revelry, which is that sorcery that can get you life cards and 1/1s depending on if you have less of those than opponent. Sun
yeah.
Gold Sentinel, which is a 2 drop that can not be blocked by certain colors, I believe, when it attacks. If you have Coven,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's not protection or anything.
yeah, it's
Um, I
so
think because Grill Beats is what just happened. He's
yeah.
taking out a two. He took out a 2 drop that's supposed to stop these small aggro creatures and the 3/3 defender. Cephalid Rogue. I can't remember the
The
name. It's Bruiser.
Backstreet Bruiser.
Backstreet Bruiser. I couldn't tell what he put in.
Okay.
but
Yes.
not too many changes.
Yeah, so he's run into the Gruul Drafter, which again, often if you're looking to win the Mega Draft, you're going to have to beat the Gruul Drafter at some point. Uh, Again, common theme is that the Gruul decks just do very good, and I say it every Mega Draft whenever we see the Gruul player, and they usually do well. So we're seeing that here
Well,
again. You know, the game is a lot simpler when your opponent casts zero creatures. So I don't think that was a you know an
if you can go
indicator
one for one,
of the
remove
strength of either
it.
player's deck really. But good on Dan for clocking the counter spells and just casting the least valuable creature each time into the
Yeah,
counter
you
spells.
can, and he's going to be doing the same this time if it comes up again.
Oh yeah, well, I think Justin wants to be more proactive. Looking at his deck, it didn't look like a control deck. It looked like a control deck that game, but looking at his pool, his deck looked pretty proactive, honestly. Lots of things to do. Sacrifice synergies across three of the sets. Um, you know, Dan
Justin's
has Dan has a
Justin's three
lousy
for
one
three.
lander. All right.
Justin's 3 for 3 at looking at one color openers until this one he's got actually 4 lands, Phantom
So
Carriage, and a Bleed Draft.
so another mulligan situation here. Dan's got mulligan too,
Yeah,
and his hand is not very good. So uh, he's putting the Toxic Scorpion on the bottom, the green 2 drop. That's because he has no forests. He has a mountain and a plains, and just a bunch of things aren't going to do anything. So a Lantern Flare, Sunset Revelry, Pyre Spawn, which is a 6 drop, Grafted Growth, the aura to put on a land, and a Smash to Dust, and then a Johnny off the top here. So like even when he draws a forest, he's casting a Grafted Growth and then the Ajani into a board with no creatures potentially. So um, you have to be a bit less selective with your keeps once you've mulliganed once already. But this is a hand that even if you drew what you needed, you're still not doing anything for a long time. So this unfortunately might have had to be a mulligan, I think.
this is a bit of a funny play. He's going to Braids right to Chapter 3 because the first two do absolutely nothing.
He
And
is
third
cycling
one
it.
draws him a
He
card.
is cycling his braids for a shock to the opponent's face and a
Shock
card.
and draw a card.
And Dan is just passing here with nothing to do. So yeah, you know, like I said, you have to when you multi six, you keep a lot of hands that you wouldn't keep on 7. But I think this had to be a mulligan because the best case scenario is if he gets his forest. What's he doing? He's playing a Grafted Growth. I mean, Johnny wasn't in his starting hand. He drew that after, so he didn't know he was going to have that. Um, so I assume Justin was scrying lands to the bottom and putting
There was
non
2 lands to
lands.
the bottom. He
Yeah,
thought about keeping a blue-black tapped land so that Bleed Dry could be playable,
yeah.
but Swamp just came off the top anyway, so Bleed Dry is not playable.
All right. So what is he? So what else is he holding here? The bleed
Tribute
dry.
to Urborg and the Phantom Carriage, which is going to be his first creature outside of the Vilumeg outside in the entire game.
So he's gonna cast his Smash to Dust here. Um, yep.
But why didn't he do it pre-combat?
It's a it's a,
Okay,
it's a curious main deck card, but it did what it did there. So this Phantom Carriage can go get a card with Flashback or Disturb. So let's see if he has anything
into
interesting
the
to throw there. I
graveyard.
know
Yeah,
he has a. I know he has quite a few Disturb cards. He has Lantern Bearer. I forget what it's called, but it's a 4 mana 3/2
yeah.
flyer.
Gale
Um,
Drifter, Covetous
yeah,
Castaway, and Crawl from
yeah,
the Cellar is that one of
yeah.
them.
Well, Covetous Castaway is has the worst front side of all of them, so that seems like an easy one
Yeah,
to
it's
throw there.
meant to be thrown away.
Yeah, so he's just in the interim. Dan has found a the synthesizer and more red and white lands and green cards. So just none of what he needs here.
What was that attack about? He has a pump in hand, or what?
He had Lantern Flare.
Oh, of course.
I don't know why he cracked it there because there was nothing he could cast, and that was an actual green source. So he lost his green
Pressure,
source there.
maybe.
Um, yeah, that was a bit of a curious move there to crack it when you had no mana. And how do you play doing that? So here's a forest. What does this do? It gives him access to his green cards now. Uh, so it looks like
Should
he
be quite
just
a
needs
few.
stuff on board. He's going for the Dawnheart Mentor here, which is a little unusual. I guess it turns on his Lantern Flare now. to kill the 4/4 flyer. Okay, that makes sense. Because the Lantern Flare reads for 1 and a white, it deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control.
Oh, that's okay. That works.
Yeah. So
He
yeah.
has a
So
tribute to Urbo. It's a tribute to Urbo, but shouldn't matter, right? Because it's still 4 damage.
yes, correct. So he's the Tribute to Org isn't going to help here. Yeah, so if you cleave it, you just deal X for X red and a white. But if you just pay 2, it'll just always deal the amount of creatures. So yeah, so good little turn here. Um,
Any other creature wouldn't have been very good because Dawnheart Mentor got you too. So it's quite the perfect creature for that situation.
yeah, so Justin still has a bleed dry, and what else is going on there?
Yeah, the Skull Scab that just got drawn, and yeah, the Dockside just came out too.
Yeah, so Skull Scab is the 2/2 gold card. Um, Whenever you exploit a
Yeah,
non-token creature, you get a 2/2.
you get a token creature. Yeah.
Yeah, a 2/2. Not a decayed though. Regular
Nope.
old
Nope.
2/2. And so he's going to Grafted Growth here, and then he has 3 mana to work with. So he can either play a Johnny or Rootwalla.
Look at this. Coven's turned on, which is relevant.
So a Johnny's just gonna die to the flyer.
Yeah, it can find you a card maybe or buff a couple creatures and give him vigilance for a turn, but that's all Johnny's gonna do before dying.
Yeah,
How
well
many?
I believe it starts at 4, but
It,
if you Phyrexian
if
it,
you don't
then
complete it,
it's yeah, if you pay the discount, you get 2 less loyalty, so that wouldn't be good. He's just gonna play Rootwalla here. He's gonna try and create a wide board. His coven is now active, so he has that pump ability on the mentor. He also has a luxurious libation, which he may be able to use to get in for a sneaky lethal here somewhere. But the bleed dry might
it
might get used here. Um,
there's something else which is Essence Capture is just drawn, so that's
okay, so counter
potentially
spell.
relevant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a Johnny could tick up to 5 on the first turn, which is
Yeah.
gets out of the range, I suppose, of Phantom Carriage, but
Yeah.
not a great play.
Uh, Yeah, well, if Justin thinks that Johnny is worth attacking, it's saving him life. That's always valuable, right? Your opponent has a 4/4 flyer. If you can make that flyer, not deal 4 damage to you for a turn, you've bought yourself something. It's not an answer, but it's better than being attacked for 4, certainly. Yeah. So here comes a Johnny. So I believe Essence Capture is only for creatures. So it's like this one's
It is.
auto
I just looked it
resolve.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's blue counter a creature, and you get a +1 counter, I believe. All
So
right, so it looks
distributing
like
counters and giving
he's
them vigilance
yeah, so it looks like he's
could be something.
decided that he doesn't care to keep the Ajani around. He's using it as basically a sorcery put counters here.
And you gain 4 life if he does throw the flyer into your Johnny, so it's not
Yeah,
so
and
bad.
these creatures get vigilance, so it's kind of nice here. He has luxurious libation too. If yeah, so for a block like this, but I think that's gonna yeah. So the bleed dry is gonna work here. This is gonna prompt a removal. Yeah,
Made it too juicy. -10, to the root wall in total.
yeah. Bleed dry.
Assassin's
Yeah,
Ink.
well, yeah. Bleed dry is classic overkill on the it might as well say minus
If
100, minus 100, right? It's
if you
though.
can make it not kill something, that's a feat in itself. So
Yes, I
Assassin's
mean
Ink, I
there
think for
is
that.
there is a 1/13 in the set. So if you can get some counters on that, it survives a bleed dry. Funnily enough, that zombie, the black card. But enough of that. Let's see what. So Dan has a Pyre Spawn if he wants to use all his mana. He also has Fleetfoot Dancer and Child of the Pack. So he has some nice cards here. He's going to attack here. Yeah, so he's almost for sure going to save the Fleetfoot Dancer to try and get in on a turn where it could be lethal.
Justin does have Assassin's Ink, which costs 3. It just kills a creature. It gets reduced costs if you have enchantment slash artifacts.
Yeah, so he's going to throw his Dockside Chef here for a card. Um, you know, so Pyrospawn, interesting card here. We didn't really see it much. I mean, it's getting countered, but we didn't really see it much in Crimson Vow, just because Crimson Vow had such powerful cards, and like Falcon Wrath Celebrants was just a lot better at less mana. But 6/4 that dies and deals 3 damage to anything. I mean, that's you have to address that. Like you can't just allow that card to sit and play for any prolonged period of time.
Yep, and he did a couple great draws. Crawl from the Cellar, which would
Okay.
not great this turn, but that looks good for the future. But Screaming Swarm was just came off the top, which is a flyer that can clock in for damage, and
So
even
that
recur
gives
itself.
him a 2 turn clock now.
Yeah.
So he's going to put him down to 9, and then he's going to present 9 power of flying. But he is at 5, so he does have to be wary about the the damage here. But Justin does not have his or Dan does not have his coven, so he can't use the Dawnheart Mentor. But this is going to be the turn for Fleetfoot Dancer, so because he has to gain the life
He
here.
milled opponent.
Ooh, he also has drawn Repel the Vile, which can exile one of those creatures. Um, could just exile the Screaming Swarm right now because that card does recur itself if it dies.
Hmm.
So he could, yeah, so he could exile that, and then he could set up for lethal, or he could just force the trade here. Yeah,
Oh, that's a fine play, I'd say.
yeah. So he's gonna gain life. So he's gonna use his 4 mana to gain the life, and then he's gonna use the repel on the Phantom Carriage here. And Justin needs some way to deal with this oncoming damage at 1 life. What does he have in hand now?
It's Crawl from the Cellar. He's looking at what to get. It's the Skull Scab, the Dockside Chef, or the Screaming Swarm, which just hit the graveyard.
Yeah, and he has the removal, right?
He has the
Okay.
Assassin's Ink still. It's going to cost 4 since no artifacts or
Yeah, so he's gonna get
enchantments are
back
on
his
the
Skull
field.
Scab. He's gonna play that, and then he's gonna. So he could either kill something, or he can just get back. Oh, so he can use the crawl again, get back a. It's yeah. He could use the crawl again, got back his Dockside Chef, put a counter on the 2/2, and then had another creature, um, and then not have to use his removal spell here. But he now has to use the removal.
The unfortunate thing is that is exiled because of Repel, so Kral can't get that
Yeah.
card back.
Well, yeah, I could get back the flyer, but he needs 10 mana to play it, so that's not an option.
Join the
Unfortunately,
Maestros
he's
is
not he's
good.
not facing lethal now, so he
That is
he
true.
does he does have a turn, but he doesn't know. Dan could have burn spell. He's playing red. He could have pump spells, which he
Haster.
does. Okay, well that's a 5 mana 4/3. That's what that is. It's
Yeah.
join the
Screaming Swarm can go
maestros.
third from top. Cool.
Yeah, so there's a hunter. So
So he's
screaming swarm.
tucking
He's gonna
Screaming Swarm.
he's gonna put that second from the top, and his draw is a swamp.
A land. I
Hmm.
need you to be surprised when he played it.
Yeah,
But we have a crawl, so that can get back. It's only dockside, it seems. There you are.
yeah. I don't get surprised too easily, but yeah, that was not the draw he was looking for. Um, okay.
What did Dan get?
So he doesn't have any way to get through for the final points, but he has a Weaver of Blossoms, he has a Tales of Master Shishiro, and he has a Child of the Pack. So he's just going to keep putting things
Well,
into play.
turning Coven on is great for next turn because you got Trample giving.
Yeah, any of these creatures is going to provide Coven. So yeah, now Justin needs to he has to chump block. He's going to draw a card, but the he needs creatures, and he needs to kill multiple things here. So I don't
Splatter
know if that's going to
Goblin
work here.
against Splatter Goblin against the Trample isn't the
Yeah,
ideal
the
thing.
yeah the trample's just gonna do him in. So as long as Dan knows what his card does, he's gonna be able to win here. So if Dan attacks and does not activate, then Justin will be alive. But if he does, I assume he knows what his card does. You don't
That's
tell me
over.
otherwise. He didn't even have to show that he knew what his card did. So Yeah,
That
we
helps.
see the power, of the Gruul deck here, winning round two, and Dan's going to be in the finals, attempting to win his first league in his first league. So congratulations to Dan, and we'll see him in the final round.